Good morning. It's day 281. I don't know if you guys can hear the cows. We have really thick fog that rolled in. Look at this. It's like the fog, the particles in the air act like a conductor or even a microphone. The cows, I can hear them like they're like right there. And there's one that's being really loud. Anyway, okay, so we started a new book today, Second Corinthians. And we just read chapter 1 today because this contains what has been one of my personal anchor verses, concepts. Not because it's more than just one verse. It's several verses. It's a whole section of that letter called The God of All Comfort. We are comforted in our suffering so that we can comfort others. I titled today, Pay It Forward, because, and often when we use that term, it's to pay forward, a blessing or, something good. Maybe we buy somebody, coffee, and for us in the coffee shop, behind us. I'm tongue-tied. Ugh. Anyway, but it can be so much more than that. We are called to do so much more than that. I mean, those are all really good things, and it also sometimes is exactly what that person needed, those random acts of kindness. But even more than that, really coming alongside people in their suffering. Don't let whatever you have suffered through, and we all have lots of things. We all have our stories, our unique struggles, which actually we learn aren't so unique. I mean, of course, there are some unique things about them because you're unique and I'm unique. But there are lots of common struggles that we have out there. And our egos sometimes like to keep those things quiet. Like we want people to think we've just got it all together, that we've risen above, and we might talk about it in general terms. But a lot of times we keep our stuff private. And what if there's somebody out there that needs to know what you've been through and how you came through it and what it's like to be on the other side, how you were able to get through it, the endurance, like all of the things, and the stuff that people don't like to share. Like it was really hard for me at first to talk about the fact that I was drinking too much. Like, ooh, it feels like wearing a scarlet letter. Like, ooh, you've got a problem. And now knowing that some people will go, oh, and I've gotten lots of those messages, oh, I didn't know. Like as if I were some poor thing. I'm like, okay, thanks. But really, and that's okay. I do it anyway because there are way, way, way more messages that I get going, oh my God, thank you for being so open and sharing about it. I have the same problem. Or I know somebody who thinks they're alone in this. And, but there's this image. I'm like a Anglo suburban mom who's supposed to have it kind of all together, professional. Like, oh my gosh, what would my clients think if they knew? Ooh. So I had to get over myself because of this verse. Like this verse has pushed me through to being vulnerable and sharing about so many things. My identity struggles with moving a lot, having walls up around my heart because of it and not letting people in close enough or very close, like arm's length. the struggles with that. There's so many things that if we would just come out of our I've got it all together closets, we could really help each other heal. We could comfort each other. And it wouldn't even be so hard. And then it's like, oh, then you see a purpose in the pain, a purpose in the suffering, a purpose for going through trials. Wow, this can really be helpful to somebody else and help them get out of a dark place or break generational curses, all the things. What surprised me about this chapter, though, because I've so focused on this first section and kind of used it as my anchor, that I've missed the end of the story. I feel like Paul Harvey reading the Bible this year. It's like, and now the rest of the story. Where Paul talks about yes and amen, all of the promises, all of God's yeses. He's not a God of yes and no, or yes or no. He's a God of yes. Now, that doesn't mean he's a genie in the bottle and he's going to do whatever you want. It's about his promises and you having faith and trust. But Christ came to fulfill all the yeses. He is a God of yes and amen. So if we can even hang on to that, if you're in a struggle right now and you are feeling alone, and just pray that maybe there will be somebody that comes along and comforts you, and that one day you will also have the opportunity. You will be on the lookout for people that you can help. There's purpose. We grow through struggles. We don't grow through the mountaintop moments and the peak experiences. It's nice to have those, and we really, really enjoy those, but that's not where the magic of life lies. That's not where the thrill and the adventure of life lies. Mountain climbers, not that I'm one, but I love reading about them. They have a moment when they climb to the apex of the mountain, but sometimes it takes months to get there. Some of what these extreme climbers go through, they have to train for a long, long time and acclimate their lungs and endure freezing temperatures and avalanches and storms and like some of the things they go through. It's amazing. But because of that, we get their mountaintop views and photos. But if all we want to do is spend life at the mountaintops and the peak experiences, that's a pretty shallow life to live. Like, they're not as special if you haven't had the low lows. And if we can even rest in the assurances and the promises that if we will humble ourselves, even in our suffering, that we can see the silver linings. We can see that there will be a purpose, even if it doesn't feel like it now. And having that hope, back in 1 Corinthians in chapter 13, we got all the characteristics of love, but then we also got the greatest three: hope, faith, hope, and love. And when we're in our sufferings, or when other people are and we feel helpless, just knowing that, just being there for somebody, just coming alongside, because it doesn't last forever. But when you're in it, man, does it feel like it's unbearable. But we can come alongside of each other and help bear it. We can help bear each other's burdens and sufferings, which gives hope, which gives faith, which leads to love. And so if you're in a place now where you're feeling this way, reach out. I started reaching out through social media. That's one of the silver linings of social media. You can find just about a group for anything. And that was my first vulnerable thing to do, was just to reach out and find other people like me and start even lurking in groups. I wasn't ready to be vulnerable yet, but even people that were getting on in these groups and were talking. So even when you think nobody's listening and you're sharing your sufferings and the comfort that you've received and the endurance that you've been able to have, and maybe you've gotten to the another side of it and or kind of coming through to the other side, like, share about it. There are people out there that you don't even know that are watching, that you're comforting. So it's not all about your ego and knowing that you're providing comfort. You may never even know. There are people that helped me along in my journey that will never know. Like, I didn't write down their names, but I know there were faces and people sharing things in these private groups that made a difference, helped me in my suffering. It gave me hope, gave me faith. I didn't have a lot of love then, or not the kind of love that I understand now. Definitely not self-love. But it was starting to peak out because I was like, I know God has a better promise for me. I know He's a God of yes. I'm the one that's saying no. And sometimes we confuse that. Our hearts get hard and we're hurt and we're heartbroken. And we are the ones that are actually saying no. It's not God. He's trying. We have to open our eyes, our ears, our hearts, and look for the opportunity. Open yourself up to hope and faith, and you will be amazed at what's right in front of you and all around you. It's us that closes things off. What a good day, and what a good perspective and chapter. It's going to be good. Paul was writing out of kind of frustration, I think, to this church. He was like, you better be lucky I'm not there because I saved you from my rebuke. Anyway, so he really is trying to humble himself. And the chapter ends on, I want you to have your own faith, a faith that stands on its own. And that is part of why we have suffering, because those journeys, those struggles, those questions, all of that help us to own our lives, own our faith, own our minds, own our agency, and decide to step out of a victim mentality. And a lot of us don't like to admit that that's what we've got. Oftentimes some of the people that have the strongest victim mentality, they're so justified in it. They're like, oh, no, I have been wronged. And maybe they really were a victim at one point, but that's a moment in time. The choice to stay a victim is just that. It's a choice. And I've been there, so I can say that. Anyway, I'm going to end on that. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you are on both sides of the equation of comfort today. If you need comfort, and we all do to some level, whether you're a little tired, and just a little rundown, maybe after a busy week, how can you get some comfort and be comforted and restored this weekend? And then how can you look for an opportunity to be a comfort for somebody else? Pay it forward. It makes life a yes and an amen. All right. Talk to you later. Good morning. Rise and shine.